We got Coach Austin next, offensive line run game coordinator Greg Austin. First question, Brian Christopherson, Nebraska 24/7.
Hey, Greg. Good afternoon. Um, I was wondering, I know you were talking about moving Farniok to right guard, sort of how that competition shakes up, who else is getting looked at there, and also the left guard spot, kind of going into the camp. Who are the main competitors at left guard right now in your mind?
All right, so starting at right guard, yes, we did move Matt down inside to right guard and doing a good job of, essentially just converting. Things are a little bit different down inside. The game is a little quicker, and he's still getting, his feet under the ground, underneath him, if you will, at that position. But doing a nice job. Obviously, a lot of experience that he has, just playing overall. Behind Matt, competition wise will be guys like Ethan Piper. There's Trent Hickson. There's Matt Sichterman. Those guys. And then switching over to left guard, Bo Wilson is there right now, along with Brock Bando, Nuri, the transfer that came in from Colorado State. Hard to say his last name. I don't want to screw it up. But nevertheless, and there's a few guys that can cross over, like Trent is also a crossover guy that can play both sides as well. Obviously, he started for us the better or the majority of last year at that position. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Omaha World Herald, Evan Bland.
Hey, Greg, just curious with kind of the strange off season, how important now are the next few weeks? How much stock maybe do you put into those next few weeks as you're figuring out kind of starting line combinations, depth charts, things like that?
You put all the stock in them. I mean, they're ultra important, and they are the determining factor as to who we're going to put out there as the starters, and more importantly, the guys that are backing them up that we're going to have to depend on as well. So that's certainly everybody wants to talk about the starting guys, but we're very interested in the starting guys, no doubt. But how much depth can you build, right? And you talk about a time like right now, it's about depth, because you could get a guy that gets sick, right? Guy gets sick. Who's the guy that's behind him that's going to give you as much or keep the production going. So we're looking at this still holistic, just like you always have to do, but even more emphasis on that holistic picture of from the top to the bottom of the roster per position to make sure that you're straightened out. And the other thing is that the other thing that we look at to add to that is position flexibility, right? Can a guy play guard and tackle? Can a guy play center and guard, and vice versa? You want guys that have position flex, and also guys that can play multiple sides as well. So all of that goes into play right now as you make the lineups and as you evaluate the different lineups and change up lineups on a daily basis.
Question from Mitch Sherman, The Athletic.
Hey, Greg, can you touch on the right tackle spot and also share some thoughts a little bit on how far Cam Jurgens has come from this time a year ago?
So touching on the right tackle spot, Bryce is out there along with Christian Gaylord, along with Brant Banks, all guys that have done a good job out there. Those are the three main guys, along with Matt Sichterman. He's also got some reps out there as well. Again, he's another guy that's going to cross-train at guard and tackle. So that's how the right tackle spot shakes out. While we're on it, let's talk about the left tackle spot. Brendan Hymas, along with Turner Corcoran, has emerged as a young, valuable player right now, especially considering this year, in the NCAA's eyes, does not count, so you don't have to worry about a red shirt versus non-red shirt year for him. Christian Gaylord has been able to give us reps out there as well, and then Brant Banks is also a guy that's trained out there as well. So we're placing a big emphasis on guys being able to play on both sides, if you will. If you're just a tackle only, And then certain guys, they play on both sides as a guard and a tackle, So that's the tackle spots. And then certainly Cam inside at the center, man, he's done a really good job of getting that command presence. And that's a big deal at that position. His command presence a year ago is 180 degrees from where it is right now. His ability to have control of the offense, to make the calls that he needs to make. During camp, you're going to be put in a lot of situations. We don't have a game plan. The defense does not have a game plan, so they're, kind of working their schemes and, and their adjustments to ours. Some things come up that we haven't really prepared for, if you will. And it's been really good to see from him being able to take some things that we learned in the past, whether it be in fall camp or throughout the season last year, and bring them forward. There have been a couple instances where he pulled out a call that, again, we haven't prepared for that call in, months. But he knew when to call it and the situation that warranted that call. So that's been awesome. And then the biggest thing is, the guys to the right and to the left of him, just getting that confidence in him as a signal caller, if you will, for the offensive line. Continuing to make sure that he's consistent with his snaps. Mechanically, he's good, but certainly we got to make sure that he's dialed in and focused on that, give the quarterback the ball consistently in the same spot.
I assume Will Farniok is also working at center. He's one guy you haven't mentioned. You've been through most of the positions.
Yeah, Will Farniak's working in at center as well as Trent Hickson. Trent Hickson emerged as a guy that that's done a really good job. Last couple weeks of again controlling the offense. Making the calls that he needs to make, and then delivering the ball back to the quarterback with consistency.
Husker Online, Sean Callahan. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, Greg, I asked Matt this question too, but how do you find the right blend of just contact and live work with almost just 3 weeks to go until the opener and getting full pads on here for the first time this week?
I think it's very important that you take a good picture of your kids and you see the hits that they're taking. You start, you calculate, okay, how many times are we hitting? What type of hitting are we doing? Situationally, is it third down and short? I think that it's very important from a holistic perspective to look at, the amount of times you're hitting, per week. All these things are calculated in camp. This is kind of a unique deal in that, you have this short window to get, as much hitting as you can in. For the last few months, we've been working our scheme. I think our kids know their assignments. Now it's just a matter of, how do we get those guys in positions where we're teaching the techniques and the fundamentals of striking and driving and pressing up front. We call pressing up front, our bodies on bodies. How many times can we get that done? And there's no art, there's no science to it. It's just a matter of, all right, a guy like, I'll just give you an example, a guy like Matt Farniak. Matt Farniak's he's going to run full speed no matter what, and he's going to strike and drive. You're going to have to take care of Matt Farniak. Certain other guys that are young, they're still learning how to strike and drive. They're still learning how to hit. You're going to have to put those guys in a little bit different regimen, give those guys a little bit more reps. So it's a healthy blend of experience. Certainly you want to get, especially the experienced guys, their share of strikes and their hitting that they need to get their pads prepared, their bodies acclimated to the striking that they need to have prior to October 24th. But in some cases it's a case-by-case basis. I can tell you right now, Turner Corcoran's going to need more striking and driving than Brendan Hymas. Just looking at those two players, same thing for a guy like Bryce Benhart and Brendan Hymas. That understanding and there's a fatigue factor that's involved with it. There's a stamina factor that's involved with it from the beginning to the end of practice. You know, how much strike and drive, how much leg drive do you have at the end of practice versus the beginning of practice? Can we keep that level of intensity throughout practice? And I think that's when you understand and you know that when you start practice and when you can end practice kind of in the same way that you began practice from a strike and stamina standpoint, then that's when you know, all right, you know, we're there. But until you get there, right? Until you get there, then you're not there. You know, you're not ready yet. You know, so like I said, you know, there's no exact science behind it, but I think it's more of a feel deal and assessment of your team off defensively, how well you guys striking and tackling, how well you guys pursuing to the ball. That's a big deal, and those are the things that we're going to have to talk through as a staff. You know, obviously, Coach Frost is very adamant about, you know, striking and blocking and tackling, and he's going to get us ready to do that.
Okay, time for one more for Greg. Michael Bruntz, 24/7 Sports.
Hey, Greg, in the spring, you kind of talked about wanting to simplify the offense and kind of doing fewer things, but doing them better. You were just talking about scheme and things like that. I mean, do you feel like you guys are still on track as you're back on the field now to kind of honing in on some things that you can really hang your hat on this season?
Absolutely. If there's one thing that this time period has allowed us, you know, from June 1, when we can actually get back in the building, you know, up to today, is, you know, we've been very, very adamant about being deliberate with what we're doing, especially in the run game, right? We're going to hang our hat on a few schemes, and we're going to run them, and we're going to get really good at them. And the guys know, because we preach it on a daily basis. You know, our practice, my individual begins with, you know, the main run scheme, you know, and then it goes from there. Our meetings begin with the main thing and the technique and the scheme that surrounds it. And so that we've kind of beaten it into these guys' heads. You know, I hate to say that, but, you know, whatever, you know, it's a play on words. But anyway, we've been really enforcing it for those guys to know that there's a, you know, more of a singular focus point. Like, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's the many different ways that we're going to do it. Here's the many different fronts. Here's the many different looks that we're going to get to it. We have to be really good at this, right? And we were going to be really good at this, and we're going to be really good at this, and we're going to be really good at this. And then, you know, we're going to, you know, certainly have some things that, you know, change up our tendencies. But nevertheless, you know, this is our bread and butter. And we've been buttering bread here for the last few months, you know, and we're adamant about it. And I'm excited about I'm excited that the guys know that, you know, because that was one of the things that even Coach Frost and I were talking about, you know, when he decided that, hey, I want to give you the run game coordinator title. I'm like, all right, well, here's the deal. You know, if you're going to do this, then here's how I look at it, you know. Like I said, you know, this time period has allowed us to do that. And now that we have pads on, now we can make full speed contact. Now it's about honing in on those skills from a technique standpoint that we've been talking about up to date, and now we can actually go out and execute in addition to the schematic stuff.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll finish
All right,
up.
guys, thank you.
We'll finish
Go Big
up
Red.
here in just a second with Coach Becton.
I'm good.
Yep, thanks, Greg.
So,